Please read the disclaimer. XRP price continues to dip, and XRP right now is at its lowest point since last November. We're going to talk about all the latest and the greatest news, what's happening that's affecting all the markets, not just crypto. We'll talk about what's happening with the Clarity Act and a new feature that has been enabled on XRPL that could be one of the things that is beneficial for XRP's price down the line. You're going to want to watch all the way to the end of the video to get all the latest and the greatest information. So let's start out here. Listen, the situation right now in the crypto market might be at its lowest that I felt in a very long time. Even when we were, consolidating after the Bitcoin ETFs came out around beginning of February, there was about 6 months, right, between February and October of 2024, when the market just was moving sideways. There wasn't a lot of excitement. Things weren't happening the way people wanted. XRP was going up a little bit and then pulling back a little bit, and it dropped all the way down to 38 cents. Yes, 38 cents per XRP in July of 2024. It was looking bleak. The SEC just put in the appeal on the court case after XRP previously had the Judge Torres decision, and it went bananas in that day. But we knew that the SEC was going to continue to come after XRP, and that's what happened. But in November of 2024, everything changed with the election of Donald Trump. And XRP went up significantly all the way up to eventually 3.6, right? If you remember. And since then, XRP is down over 50%, right? Right now, as I'm recording this, XRP is sitting at $1.43. So that is a 61% drop off since that high 200 days ago. Now, we're in a situation where most people in the market are feeling down. They're feeling like, oh, the crypto market, it's so terrible. The crypto market, I don't want to be in it, right? That's the feeling on the street. But the fact is that these are usually the times where the big stacks are made. Doesn't mean that that's going to happen. This is just what history has told us. If I could have gone back to the bottom, right, of January 22nd, January 22, not January 22nd, but January 2022, when Bitcoin was at 16,000, 15,000, and I was making videos back then. I was saying, listen, these are the times where everybody is making articles that the crypto market is over and that this is it, right? There's a website that tracks how many times there's an article that says Bitcoin is kaput, right? I don't know how many times it is already, but that we were talking about that. And looking back, of course, I wish I would have tripled, quadrupled my positions back then, because since then, right, Bitcoin is up 350%. Now, XRP, if you take that, XRP hit that day at 30 cents. So if you would take XRP's price back then, right, and it's been a wild ride since then, it would still be up 400%, right? So you have to take, again, things into perspective. And it will be very interesting to see over this next week how the markets react, because it's not just crypto. Precious metals are getting hits. The stock market is getting hit. SaaS are getting hit, right? Software is getting hit significantly because of the advancements of Claude, because of the advancements of AI. Things are going a little bit to the downside there. And yet, if you look at the indexes, it's not that bad, but specific companies are getting hit really significantly, okay? So it's just important to look back at what has been happening with the markets over the past few weeks. And as always, this video is for educational purposes, for entertainment purposes only, not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence before you decide to invest. Also, very, very important to remember that I will never contact you on social media asking you to sign up to anything or to send me anything. Those are scammers. Please be very careful out there. And now I want to press this button. Whoa, oh, I got small. Yeah, the roller coaster will continue probably for the next month or two. We might see lower levels. We might see the market continue to drop. We might see XRP even tickle the $1 range. We have to take that into consideration. Bitcoin could drop all the way to 50,000, 60,000. That's a possibility. So have a plan in place. Make sure you understand the risks and rewards of the market. Okay, it's very, very important to remember that. Now let's get into some news. So after last night, we talked about how the the U.S. delegation basically and the Iranian delegation canceled the meeting to talk about, getting a deal done. And U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the United States is open to talks if Iran is willing, adding that while reaching an agreement may be difficult, the administration is prepared to test the possibility, emphasizing the president's preference for peaceful resolutions. Now, you guys know, the ones that watch the channel every day, that I would prefer we get a peaceful resolution, right? I don't want another, 12 days like we had back, was it already a year ago? I don't remember already. That wasn't fun. That wasn't fun at all. And so, when a ballistic missile falls 200 meters from you, it's not fun at all. And so hopefully, nothing really terrible happens, and they get a deal done. And listen, for the people of Iran that, were out there and protesting and all that, if they make a deal and the sanctions are lifted, the economy could get better for the Iranian people, but they'll still be under the same, heads of state there. So I don't know. It is what it is. Of course, you'd rather not have WW3, but on the other side, you you don't want the people that's sacrificed there to be in vain, right? So it's like a double-edged sword, kind of. You have to weigh in what is better for the majority. Okay, so that will be very interesting to see, how that plays out. What's the news from that? And it seems that the markets are very, very delicate to any headline, to anything that is happening. Over the last 24 hours, we've had another 850 million liquidated. We've seen about 11.79 million liquidated on the long for XRP, 15 for Solana, 75 for Ethereum, but it's also 20 million on the short, and also for Bitcoin, 200 million. So we continue to see sell-offs here. Gold is dumping 5.5%. Silver 20%, S&P 500, only 1%, and Nasdaq 2.5%, which is not that bad, and 2% for the Russell as well. But you can see crypto about 7%. So it's not as bad as silver, but it's the one of the highest sell-offs, right? And you can see this happened here into the morning from last night. So in a span of about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, silver dropped 20%. So silver is becoming, it's more volatile than crypto, right? And over the past hours or so, 2, 3 hours, it's up 9%. So it continues to be super, super volatile. Interestingly, right, opening up right now, the VIX was very high when we talked last night, and it has dropped down here from 21. So if you remember, we talk about the VIX as the fear indicator, right? It tells us how fearful people are actually on the market. In general, it's the ratio between the calls and the puts. So if people are thinking that the market is going to go up, they buy calls. If they think that it's going to go down, they buy puts. And the ratio gives us the VIX, right? Basically on the SPY, the S&P 500 index fund. When it's over 20, that gives us that there's a lot more put buying, but it flipped from 21 all the way down to the end of the market under 18. So that message here from Secretary Rubio, flipped the switch a little bit. And while that was happening, the crypto market had recovered as well. So we saw Bitcoin dropped all the way down to about 73,000. And so if we look at where that was about the same time, about 8:39 my time, right? 9-ish. And then it came out. So that was the low. And then we saw it go up on the news from Rubio about 5%, 5.5% in an hour. But since off of that, we've seen the continuation of the sell-off, and it's about down 7% in the last 20 hours from that. XRP, same kind of action. It went up all the way to 163. But since then, since the, sorry, my voice is going out a little bit. Sorry, this was here. Since then, it's down about 8%. So actually, when we look at it, Bitcoin and XRP are, down, but not at the same level. So it will be very interesting to see, what happens here. And I was looking actually on the wrong day. I was looking here. That was Tuesday, right? I should have been looking at Wednesday. So that was the drop off, right, till the announcement, and then it came back and then sold off a little bit, right? You can see the VIX went at about 8 my time. So I was looking a little bit off here. I was at the wrong day. Technical difficulty time. It's hard when you look sometimes like the days, right? You have a little bit of problems there. The fear index, of course, continues to be very, very low. We're at the lowest point, 12 since December. We also had one day that we were at 11. But for the most part, you see this chunk here in November where there was lots of fear. We hit 10. We thought maybe we'd hit 1 digit, right? That's happened previously for a very short time in specific scenarios. The bottom of 2022, which we talked about, which was the bottom of the Bitcoin dip there. And of course, 2020, March of 2020. And interestingly, August of 2019, there was also a big sell-off in the crypto market. And there was also, very volatile time in the markets in general, 2019. And so it will be very interesting to see if this is some sort of the bottom. People will tell you that crypto has entered full capitulation mode. Bitcoin is broken below 71,000 while Ethereum fell under 2,100 as selling pressure accelerates across the markets. Liquidation have now exceeded 830 million in 24 hours, with over 6.7 billion in leverage positions wiped out. Bitcoin is now 45% down from its all-time high, marking its lowest price since November 24 and erasing all the gains since the Trump election win. We talked about this last night, and I had a rant of about 5 minutes at the end there. And if you just zoom out for a second and you look at everything we've been through over the past year with the tariffs and with the shifts and with everything that's happening, do you feel that the crypto market is in a worse place than it was a year ago? In my opinion, again, this is just my opinion, no. So the price action, it is what it is. But when I'm looking 3 years out, 5 years out, 10 years out, nothing has changed. We have only gone forward. And yes, the prices haven't matched maybe the excitement of many crypto enthusiasts, but we have to remember that there's a lot of powers that be. The ETFs have entered a new element that we didn't have, for better or for worse, that they're being manipulated when the stock market gets manipulated, and there's still unwinding from October 10th. We're still feeling the pain from then, I think. And so this is the situation, right? And so we're seeing now Bitcoin is now along 4 consecutive monthly declines, the first time since 2018. The fear greed index is printing its longest streak of extreme fear since last year, a signal historically associated with late stages of drawdowns. This is no longer a pullback. This is a structural damage, forced deleveraging, and settlement capitulation. In past cycles, conditions like this marked a transition from distribution to reset. In 2018, Bitcoin stayed in this zone for months, not days. So again, I'm warning you that this is a possibility. We could be here for months. Now, of course, this is not what I want. It's not easy to wake up every day and look at the market and look that prices are down, or look one day it's up and one day it's down. It's not easy for me. I love talking to you guys. I love talking about the crypto market. I love talking about news and markets in general. It's, some sort of therapy for me too, just speaking out my feelings to you, right? This is my therapy. Also funny, right? But it is because, some days I feel the exact same as you, even though maybe I have a little bit more experience than some, maybe I have less experience than others that are watching the videos. I see because of the distribution of your ages and life experience I'm talking, and investing experience as well. So some days you might be in a better situation mentally than me. Sometimes maybe my positions are not doing good and I don't feel like it. I don't feel like coming on the camera. And some days, the situation, we might be, in a war. And I don't want to jump, with ballistic missiles coming at me and sirens and making videos, but I continue to do it because it's sort of a therapy for me and it helps me. My wife says I'm very lucky that I live in my brain because she's a lot, you can say, darker than me, right? I'm very optimistic and I have a very bubblegum outlook. But on the flip side, because of things that I have experienced, I understand that things can change and things can flip. And by the way, before October 7th, right, I was much more optimistic about things and I was much less hesitant on things. And since then, my perspective has changed. Maybe I've gotten a little bit older, but still. And so, it's very important to remember anything can change, anything can happen. Okay. So that's very, very important to remember as well. So this is where bears take control. Confident breaks and weak hands exit. There's always the weak hands, and it's fine. Sometimes you'll be the weak hands. I've been a weak hander before in the past when I was young, and I've been smart hands since then. Sometimes I make mistakes, but that's part of the game. You're not going to have 100% success rate. That's not going to happen. Nothing here promises relief. The only question left is who will be here on the other side, right? And that at the end of the day, that's the most important thing, to be here on the other side, to zoom out, to look at price action, to look where we started, where we are, right? To look where we started, where we are, right? And remember where we were a year ago, where we were 2 years ago, and remember that. So it's very important. Now, if we look at what's happening with the Clarity Act, remember, ever since Coinbase pulled out, crypto has been selling off like no other, because I think people are afraid that the Clarity Act is not going to pass. But this is some of the things that came from the meeting today, according to Eleanor. One Democratic staff source said discussions were positive and gathering was arguably the most productive Democrat meeting to date. Senator Majority Leader Schumer made an appearance, emphasizing the importance of industry engagement and urging continued momentum to get legislation done. Right? Well, while members still have definitive asks, the takeaway from the meeting was that the effort thought to be on life support just a few weeks ago is back at it. So let's be optimistic on the Clarity Act and see what will happen. Interestingly, and I don't know if you, like people that are watching this XRP video, do you agree with me or do you agree with the statistics? I don't know. It says here, according to Cointelegraph, that Bitcoin and Ethereum sentiment hit historical bearish levels, while XRP remains optimistic per sentiment. Markets typically move opposite to retail fear and greed, signaling potential relief rally. Do you think that XRP is still optimistic? Could it be that, XRP holders, not XRP fly buyers, right? XRP holders that are looking at XRP for the long run are looking at the price action and saying, well, we've been here, we've been at similar levels, we've seen things like this before, and we know that it's going to recover. Maybe people are saying that, and that's why their sentiment is higher. Maybe it is because if you go on YouTube, a lot of the videos are still very, very optimistic. Maybe XRP holders have, for the most part, not the ones maybe that have come in the last 6 months or a year or so, but the ones that held when XRP was 50 cents and 30 cents are looking at the current situation and saying, hey, all the quote unquote bad things that we had with XRP back then are gone. So we're looking at the price action and we're saying, okay, price action, it is what it is. I don't know. Let me know in the comments section, what do you think? And this is on the flip side, right? I try to give you opinions from both sides of the range here. And Benjamin, he has been very, very pessimistic recently, looking at the markets. And he says every cycle is the same. Yes, crypto could bounce, and honestly, it would be great for sentiment if it could, but even if it does, it will most likely result in a macro lower high. I don't try and time those bounces. I've tried before with mixed levels of success. Sometimes it works and other times you get wrecked. When Bitcoin drops below the 50-week moving average, it then goes to the 100 moving average, it spends a little time there and then goes to the 200 moving average. Every cycle is eventually the same. Bitcoin topped when it always does, Q4 of the post-halving year, and so many have spent so many hours trying to convince you that it is not. And Bitcoin entered into a bear market, and so many have tried you to believe that alt season is just around the corner because it always happens after Bitcoin tops. What they failed to take into account is social interest. After the 2019 top, there was also no rotation into altcoins, which also occurred just before QT ended. He tracks social interest in asset classes, and it has been trending down since 2021. We know this because if you look at crypto videos, they're not even the same numbers. There is no one new here for people to sell their altcoins to. Alt season historically occurs after social interest has been trending up for a year, not after it has been trending down for 5 years. You remember I told you if suddenly we see, my videos get 100,000, 200,000 views, we might be close to the top. I don't know. Maybe the flip side works. Maybe the fact that we're getting, maybe 50% less views than what we were getting, let's say in August and September, maybe that's a sign that we're close to the bottom. I don't know. Have an actual plan on navigating this brutal asset class, because if the altcoins you hold drop another 50 or 80% from here, not a single influencer that was talking about them will express an ounce of a regret. That's why you should always do your own due diligence. That's why I try to give you the most balanced outlook I can, and I feel that I try that I express that I own XRP, right? It's written in the description, but also that I don't know what the price of XRP is going to be. I think that I'm in the good side of that, right? And there's a lot of bad out there, and it's I think that the bad, when things are going good, the bad rises to the surface. There's this saying, right? You know what rises to the surface, right? And that's what happens when the market is doing very good, and then those channels, they disappear. But the channels that continue to go on and continue to give you alpha and continue to give you the news, those are usually the channels that are most balanced. It's not always. There are channels that are very, very, bullish, and they only give out bullish output. But I try to give you a balanced effect, and I don't give rainbows and butterflies and unicorns, because that's not real life. Like I said, I experienced real stuff, and I know that life is not like that. So he's getting a lot of pushback because of it. But, again, I try to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And now something good. A little bit of let's get a tic tac, right? A little bit of water, right? And refresh ourselves a little bit. Okay, so we finished the bad. Let's now get to the good. Okay. So yesterday, there was an announcement that XRPL was going to enable permission domains. They are going live on the XRP ledger today. This is one of the most important infrastructure upgrades for XRPL seen in years. Permission domains allow regulated institutions to create compliance zones on the XRPL environments where only verified participants can interact, trade, or provide liquidity. In simple terms, it lets banks and financial institutions use XRPL in a way that actually fits real-world compliance rules, KYC, AML, counterparty risk, sanctioned entities, etc. Why this matters. Until now, institutions preferred to keep most of the activity off-chain because they couldn't control who they were interacting with. With permission domains, access can be restricted to approved entities, liquidity providers can be known and verified, payments, trading, and future lending can happen on-chain in a compliant way. This unlocks real institution usage of XRPL, not just experimentation. It also enables Ripple to properly utilize the XRPL DEX for Ripple payments, something even Ripple couldn't do safely before due to unknown liquidity sources. Next step, permission DEX. Permission domains are the foundation. Permission DEX applies that foundation directly to trading and liquidity. Together, they allow regulated on-chain FX and payments, institutional liquidity pools, tokenized asset markets, future lending and borrowing protocols, compliant DeFi and XRPL. This is how XRPL transitions from crypto infrastructure to financial market infrastructure. Ripple has over 300 institutional partners. This is the missing piece that allows those partners to finally operate directly on chain. So this is a very interesting upgrade here for XRPL. And, David tweeted here, says Ripple has 300 plus bank partnerships, but after 13 years, shouldn't there be billions in daily on-chain volume? It says, I think there are a number of reasons why institutions have historically preferred to use digital assets off-chain rather than on-chain. I think we're close to changing that because institutions are starting to see the benefit of moving on-chain. I agree, it has been very slow. Even Ripple can use XRP DEX for payments, yet because we can't be sure a bad person won't provide the liquidity for the payment. Features like permission domains will address this. And this could potentially be a big step forward. There says here, David shows how institutional clients will deploy trillions on-chain because of billions in daily on-chain volume through permission domains. And this could potentially be where XRP captures part of Swift. Okay, and that's where a lot of people are looking forward for XRP, right? And XRPL. And we have here Vincent saying, this is the post to read. XRP is the winner. Congratulations to all. Listen, it's been a rough ride. Remember in the beginning of January, we were optimistic and XRP hit 2.4. And since Coinbase pulled out there and since CNBC said that XRP was the winner of the year so far. This is when Coinbase pulled out, right? So if we just look at that, the Clarity Act, XRP is down 34%, right? If we go from when CNBC happened, XRP is down 40%. So remember how January started? Fun times. XRP is down already 22% year to date, and Bitcoin is down 18%. Ethereum is down 28% year to date. So after starting out very, very, optimistic in the year, things have flipped very, very fast. And again, it could flip very, very fast. We could have a V-shaped recovery and everything could be all honky-dory, right? And we could have something like this. That is a possibility, right? We have to take that in consideration. I don't know day to day what the market is going to do. Week to week, I don't know what it's going to do. Long term, again, I'll say it once, I'll say it twice. I am still very, very bullish on the crypto market going forward, on the potential of the crypto market. And I will continue to invest there. And again, this is just my opinion. You should always do your own due diligence before you decide to invest. Don't listen to people on social media that are trying to hype up stuff or sell you wishful thinking. No, right? I try to give you, again, the good, the bad, and ugly. And if you appreciate that and you're still here at the end of the video, don't forget to drop a comment, 8 for infinity and beyond. Don't forget to smash the like button. It really helps out the channel. There's also the new thing, hypes, I think. So try that as well. It's not available in my region yet, but I think in the US it's available. So if you have that possibility, try it. Maybe it will help out a little bit. And just try to think positive, right? There's a saying, think positive and positive things will happen. I'm a believer in that. It doesn't mean that, it will always happen, but it's important to have a positive mindset, but also be careful. I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive, right? To say, be optimistic, be joyful, but also be fearful. It's just, be happy, laugh, have, good food, good friends, love people, and just be careful. Always have your spidey senses up and make sure you don't fall, into traps. Don't fall into scams. Don't fall into clicking on links and things happening. Like I just saw some like influencer girl here. She went out on social media, like she's big here, and she said, "Oh, I fell for an SMS scam that said that I had a thing that I had to pay, and I clicked and I put in my information. It was a scam." Just be very careful out there. Be careful on what you do. Okay. Times are rough right now, but I am going to be optimistic about the future. That's all I can do, but I'm being careful. Okay. Don't forget to smash the like button. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you next time. And like I always say, let's make a lot of money.